But I wanted to say a couple things about essays because they are so important and they're a really big part about what I talked about earlier about finding your nest. The essay is the chance to show what you're passionate about and to show your personality and show that you are more than test scores. It's a chance to tell your stories. So I put up a couple kind of myths, and all of these have some truth to them, but they get kind of overhyped. The first one is that you should use a thesaurus to help write essays. And this is a general thing for English class. I know sometimes I had English teachers in high school that were like, just loved it if I used like big, huge words, even if I had no idea what they meant. I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you don't do that, okay? Because it just, it's so important to not try to like oversell yourself by being like, oh, look how smart I am. Look how I could write a sentence that lasts a whole paragraph. Okay, not impressive. Okay, nobody's impressed by that. Nobody's impressed by the fact that you know how to right-click on the word in Microsoft Word and pull up the thesaurus and pick the word with the most letters. Okay, because a lot of times that turns out to not be quite the word you were looking for. I don't know if you guys have had any experience with that. So that's the first one. The next one that I think is this is true, right? Essays are a great chance to bring attention to the activities you did in high school. But what you don't want, and this is so important, my brother was saying people apply to Harvard, who were involved in like 100 billion things in high school. And so their essay is just like, look at all the things I did. One thing, I did this, I was in the play, I got all these good grades, I volunteered, helped homeless people, and just this huge long list of things, right? That is what, there's other sections of the application where you put on, here's the things I did. The essay is the chance not to be like, here's all the long things I did, it's the chance to say, here's a story that represents my nest. Here's what I am passionate about. The third thing is you should try to impress the admissions committee with your essay. Yeah, of course you should try to impress the admissions people. But you don't want to it's like the big word thing. You don't want to act like you're trying too hard, look how smart I am. Seriously, I promise you I am so smart. I would be so awesome at your school. Okay? That's not impressive to anyone. Number 4 myth is essays are not important as test scores. This kind of depends on what school you're applying to. Totally depends on what school you're applying to. But if you're looking at really top schools, especially Ivy League schools, it's probably you have decent test scores. But even my brother, they were decent, but not amazing. And the fact is that for Harvard, the essay is way, way more important than the test scores. And that kind of surprises people because you think everyone goes to Harvard with a 1600 SAT. No, it's actually a lot more. It's number 1, your essay, number 2, your interview, actually. So really, they're looking for people that are passionate and that have interpersonal skills. So a couple things, sort of essay, things that you don't want to do, and I've kind of covered these briefly. Don't try to be over-intelligent, intellectual. Don't be yes, don't write nonsensical science things that are really long words so let me tell you about my research into the biosphere with the xenophyte molecules, okay? No, don't do that. All right. Number 2, don't, like I said, don't have a laundry list of the stuff you did in high school. Boring. Number 4, don't use overly big words. Yeah, if if you have a good vocabulary and you know the perfect word for the perfect time that is a big word, then use it by all means. But don't go around just all right, so now I wrote my essay, now I go back through and add big words. Bad plan. Okay, number 4, okay, don't be emotionally manipulative. I want to tell you guys, there's all these kind of cliche topics, and you shouldn't, absolutely you want, if there is emotional resonance, for me, a lot of essays I've written in my life have been I had cancer, I lost my leg. Okay, that's emotional and that touches people, but you don't want to go overboard. I don't want to write, when I write my essays, I'm careful not to ever say look how sad this is, I'm a victim of cancer and I have one leg and it's so hard and children laugh at me as I walk around Walmart. Okay, it's just it's careful ground, absolutely you want things that have emotional resonance, but be careful if you're writing about topics the death of someone you knew, your disadvantaged background, your learning disability, whatever. You just have to be careful in those areas. Now let me tell you about some things you probably want to avoid, okay? These are things that are total cliches. Let me tell you, a lot of people try to write these for their essays. And let me just remember now, when you're a senior, if you start thinking that you want to write your essay like this, don't. All right, number 1, don't write your essay about your third world service trip. Okay, this is the number 1 thing people write their college essays about. It's I went to the third world and I saw all these poor people and I realized that I am in fact very wealthy and I really appreciate now when I eat my food and I have a full stomach. Okay, you know what? That's great. And like I went to Mexico several times in high school, and like that changed me. And like I had that experience, and now it's like, yeah, I do appreciate that I have food in my stomach and a roof over my head. Unless you can tell that story in a really unique way, keep in mind that like 100 other people are writing an essay about that very subject. Number 2, when you volunteered at a homeless shelter, same thing. Like I met this homeless man who didn't have any teeth, and he was like really old and skinny, and now I appreciate the fact that I have a home. Okay, kind of cliche. So also like how you're going to cure cancer. Now, if you're really going to cure cancer, then yeah, write about that. Okay, that's awesome. Like if you have made some headway into it, but don't be like, I want to major in English, but also along the way I intend to cure cancer. Okay, like don't try to impress the admissions committee. Like I'm going to cure cancer, and after that I intend to, like solve world hunger and like bring peace and prosperity to the world. Okay, no, that's just ridiculous. Like admissions officers can tell when you're like being over the top, making all these big promises. Okay, so finally here's what you should do in your essay. The things, and they're basically the opposite of the other ones. You should tell stories. Now, they don't need to be dramatic stories. Like, obviously, probably most of you don't have one leg, as I do. All right, so you're not going to write these stories like that necessarily. But a lot of the best essays are about totally like everyday things. Like when you got your first pet, one time a conversation you had with your dad while you were eating ice cream. Like just like everyday things, but that you can tell in a unique and fresh way. Does that make sense? Like if you can bring insight to it and show that you're like sort of a thinking person through those stories. Like I'm saying, it's a chance to write ordinary everyday things that everyone else can relate to, but you have a fresh angle on that, and it shows how you are a passionate person and how you found your nest. All right, show, don't tell. Like this is just a general principle for like when you're writing your essays in English. Okay, don't be like, I'm trying to think of an example. Don't be like, so then I was really tired. I was so very tired, and I was incredibly lethargic. Okay, like you gotta show that, because that just comes across way better. So instead, you like, I was walking really like this is not what you really want to do, but like you gotta show like I walked really slowly. Like you talk about how like your tone of voice was like really soft. Like you show and let people infer the fact that you're really tired. And that's just a general principle of writing, because telling people about things, it sounds like you're trying too hard usually. And finally, same thing as I was saying before. Use simple, concrete language whenever you can. And most important thing is the essay is a chance to show your personality. That is really where the admissions committee, in addition to an interview, but a lot of schools don't offer interviews. And in that case, the essay is the only chance you have to show, this is my personality. This is, you show your enthusiasm, your passion, your sense of humor, how you're like really interested in learning. This is your chance to demonstrate that. And as I said, it's when you demonstrate that you're thoughtful and passionate.